name's Larry Refsland, and I pioneered the Perham Assembly of God Church in Perham in 1994 and pastored it until about 2002. We planted the church in the spring of 1994. I was 39 years old. So we had 4 children, ranging from, I think our oldest one was probably in 6th grade, and our youngest one was just starting kindergarten. So we were there from 94 till 2002. And so what I do for a living now is, I'm retired. But in addition to being retired and Patty teaching school full-time, I'm involved with, I have a real estate license, so I'm selling real estate. I work with Leech Lake Financial Services in Cass Lake as a project manager, and I'm also serving on several board of directors for nonprofit organizations. In the 1990s, the Assemblies of God declared the 90s the decade of harvest. And so there was a big push for planting new churches. They were encouraging every section to plant at least one church during that decade. The West Central section was thinking about planting a church in Ada, Minnesota. They interviewed us, and we went up to Ada and looked at it, and we were not really happy. We were just like, that's not a good fit for us. In the meantime, I was working with Lakeland Mortgage Company out of Bloomington, and I was servicing rural banks and providing secondary market loan products for the banks. And one of the banks I stopped in at was in Dent. And the president of the bank was a Christian guy, and he told me, he said, oh, we're building a new branch office in Perham. He said, you gotta swing by there on your way home because that's where the action is. The first thought that came to my mind was, there's no Assemblies of God Church in Perham. I wonder why not. Just 2 or 3 weeks went by, and we went to a minister and spouses retreat at Cragen's Resort in Brainerd. And one of the first people we bumped into was Clark Gage, who was the presbyter for the West Central section at that time. And he looked at us, and we looked at him, and he goes, hey, we're thinking about doing something in Perham. Are you guys interested? We go, yes! That was probably the end of January. By Mother's Day, we had our first service. So I did, and this was, like I said, it was between early in the spring, so it would have been, for some reason, there was something happening, maybe district council or something that came fairly shortly after that. I remember going down to the altar and praying for a while about thinking about, well, should I get a job? And I felt very strongly impressed that I wasn't supposed to go out and find a job, but I was supposed to not turn down anything that came my way. And I did such a variety of jobs. People found out I could pour concrete. I had some experience with siding and roofing and stuff, and so I would get called and say, hey, would you come and do this job or whatever. I even lifeguarded at the community center. I wasn't even that good of a swimmer, but it was offered to me, and I just said okay. Well, the other thing that Jean Cirilla told me was, she said, here's a name of a gal, I think she would appreciate a call from you. Her name was Arlene Coltola. But she agreed to host an informational meeting in her apartment. So she made some calls, Jean Cirilla made some calls. I called, there was a retired pastor from Brainerd that I had reached out to before we moved there, asked him if he would be my mentor. And they had just recently moved to a lake down by Dent. And so they came to the meeting, a couple of other people heard about it, and so we had a pretty nice group of full house in her apartment. So we no sooner started having Bible study meetings and people say, well, when can we start church? When can we start having a church meeting? Well, I said, well, we don't have it. Where would we have it? And so we started driving around town looking for space and talking to different people. And the Pizza Ranch wasn't where it is now. It was closer to downtown, just off the main street. It was just a lot smaller building, but it had a basement party room. They agreed to, I think we paid them $25 a week. And most of the time we had to clean up. We'd get there early so we could vacuum and set chairs up and wipe off the tables, because there might have been a pizza party there the night before that never got cleaned. And that was where we started. We were there for about 6 months before another building became available. It was more of a retail location. So this new family moves to town. They have 5 kids. So they were in the same class as a couple of my kids. And so one of my daughters invited her new friend Becky to come to the missionette program. And that girl, Becky, asked, she said, do you have anything for my sister? She's a little bit younger than me. Yeah, we got a program for them too. So the next week we had the 2 girls. And then he said, I have brothers. Do you have anything for the brothers? My brothers? Yeah, we got Royal Rangers. So pretty soon I got almost all the kids coming on Wednesday nights. So one Wednesday, as things were wrapping up, everybody was getting ready to go, their dad comes in. And I introduces himself and he says, hey, thanks for reaching out to my kids. I really appreciate it. And I said, well, what do you do when you're not working? What do you do for hobbies? And most people around there say hunting, fishing, whatever. He goes, I run. Oh, I said, well, I wish I had the discipline to do that. I just don't have the discipline to go on a run, by myself. I kind of need probably somebody to push me a little. And he says, well, you can run with me. I go, yeah, sure. That sounds great. Sure enough, he called me a couple days later. Said, "Want to go for a run?" Yeah, let's do that. So we met, and so started to jog off. I said, "Well, what do you have in mind? Where are we going to run?" And he goes, "I thought we'd just do about 3 miles." I don't think I'd ever run in my life more than a mile. I was a sprinter in high school. I wasn't a long distance guy, I said. And so that started regular running together. And every time when we'd get done, he would ask me questions. And he started to come to church. Well, not every Sunday, but so occasionally. So one day he calls me up and he said, "You want to go for a run?" I go, "Well, yeah, where are you going to go?" And he said, I'm going to run around Little Pine Lake. I go, "Around the whole lake?" Yeah. I said, "That's got to be like 11 miles. He said, "Yeah, it's 11 miles. I hung up the phone. Patty said, "Who was that?" I said, "That was Phil." "What does he want?" I said, "He wants to run around Little Pine Lake." I said, "I don't want to do that, but I think he's this close to making that decision to come on board." She said, "You better call him back." so I did. "Yeah, okay, let's go." I said, "Well, let me ask you a question. Would it be okay with you if I pushed you in your spiritual life?" Dead silence. And finally he said, "Well, what do you have in mind?" I go, "Well, I got a couple of ideas, but if you're not interested in them, just don't worry about it." So another maybe a half mile or so goes by and he said, "Yeah, I'll take you up on that because I can't keep on with the chaos that's going on in my life." Anyway, we started to meet once for a little breakfast and Bible study once a week, and he told me, he finally told me, he says, "I always believed that Jesus died for the sins of the world. I just didn't believe he died for mine." 9 years later, 9 years went by, and he called me up. He said, "Do you remember that day we ran around Little Pine Lake?" I said, "I'll never forget it." He said, "You saved my life."